Everybody, welcome back to Nailed or Failed Reviews in-depth video series on how to develop and install a solar panel system for your recreational vehicle. In today's video 3 of 4, we're going to be talking about the inside and outside overview of our 2019 Coachman Apex Nano 193 BHS to give you guys some good tips and ideas on what to look out for when you're talking about installing your solar panel system and running the main wire through the trailer to your solar controller. There's a lot of things to consider. You might have to remove panels. You might have to take a lot of things apart inside your trailer to actually do this, depending on the brand and manufacturer of your trailer. So definitely stay tuned for that walkthrough and overview and those tips and things to look out for. We're also going to be showing you guys our DIY cost-effective solution to create an aluminum framework to actually mount onto our camper trailer roof, and then we're going to be mounting all the solar panels onto that. So stay tuned for that in our video series on how to develop and install a solar panel system for your recreational vehicle. Let's check it out right now on Nailed or Failed Reviews. Okay guys, thanks again for joining us. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty in-depth video because when you're talking about developing, installing a solar system, or if you're retrofitting a trailer, or maybe you bought a used one and it has a system on it that you need to fix or upgrade, something like that, then there's a lot of different things that you have to consider as far as where am I going to run these wires, how am I going to attach the solar panels to the roof. On the inside of the trailer, do I have to remove panels? Do I have to pull the refrigerator out? I mean, it really depends on your application. Again, we're lucky because in this camper trailer that's 22 feet long, we not only have a wire channel that's running from front to back through the roof inside the ceiling, but we also have the ability to store our batteries and our inverter and our solar charge controller in the very front of the trailer under the bed. And so that's really helpful because it allows us to utilize that big area to hold four batteries as well as that other stuff, and then easily run a cable from the roof to the solar charge controller. So anyways, I just wanted to make these points because again, what I'm trying to show you guys in this video is some ideas, and for you to say, oh, look at that, I know my trailer looks like this, and I could do this or I could do that. So that's sort of the idea here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off the tripod, I'm going to hand hold it, and we're going to go outside, get an overview shot of the trailer so we can talk about wire placement from where it's going to be on the roof and what those things you have to think about, and just give you guys again some ideas, some tips, some things to look out for when you're talking about doing this type of installation. So let's head outside and show you guys all these different things that you have to consider to actually get this stuff installed. All right guys, and now we're outside, and here's our 2019 Coachman Apex Nano 193 BHS. Again, this has a bunkhouse in it that we tore out, put some offices in it, remodeled the kitchen. We've done a lot of stuff to this thing, so definitely hit that subscribe button to check out the videos later on. But I wanted to show you guys what you have to think about as far as where your batteries are located, where your charge controller is going to go, where your inverter is at, and those types of things, just from an outside visual view of the trailer. Because you're going to be thinking about, okay, got my solar panels up there, where are they going to connect to for the wire? Are they going to connect in the back? That's where ours is right now. Is it going to come out? Is the wire going to come out of the roof in the front? And then where is it going to go to? Do I have to run it from, maybe some people might have to access it through the vent for the refrigerator, and maybe you're going to drill your own hole and just get in there somehow. And then where are you going to run that to? You can see ours, it goes through the top and then through this front cap I'll show you guys in a minute, and then down there to that compartment right there. So that's the first thing you got to think about is, okay, again, going back to what I was saying earlier as far as how many amps and volts do you have coming through, how long is that run going to be from your where all your panels connect going to your batteries. So let's go over to my setup and show you guys what I'm talking about. So let me start in the front, because you can see there's no batteries there, right? So for most people, their batteries are still located up front. You have one or two. I got a nice little storage box there now, because what we did was we upgraded our battery system. We had to go to 4 batteries because it was so we were using so much power. And so here under the bed, this is the front storage compartment, and you can see you have 2 battery boxes. So there's 2 6 volts in each one, and then they're combined together to make a 12 volt system. The inverter's on the other side of that. And then here you can see my solar charge controller. So this is where our main line comes in from the solar panels, and it's all, you can't see any wires. It's all clean except for these wires where they're coming out of the wall, because I'm able to run my main wire through the walls, through the front of the trailer, come out behind this, and it's nice and clean to get into here. And then this connects over to my batteries. And then, like I said, they're over there is my inverter. If you can barely see that over there. So you got to think about that. Where are my batteries? How long is that run going to be from my solar panels going to my charge controller? Can I do it with the amount of amps that I'm pulling in? Can I access the areas I need to run the wire? So let's check that out. All right, so I'm going to start here because I'm lucky in that our trailer comes with a fiberglass front cap that has a window, and that's important because this makes my access to run a wire much easier. So let me go inside and show you, but I just want to point that out, that if you don't have this type of front cap, you may have a harder time actually running a wire from your roof down the front and into a front compartment like this, because there's a lot of trailers that have this front compartment. If we go inside here, you can see what we're looking at is the front of the trailer, and there's our queen bed, and then the front wall. Now this window here, this little black frame can pop out, and you can access the area in between this brown wall, the interior wall, and the back of the fiberglass cap. There's a aluminum framework in there that makes up the framework of the trailer, and we've stuffed it with insulation and whatnot, but you can access it to run a cable through. So you can see here it continues up, and this is the compartment above the bed. This is where we put our clothes in, and you can see here I actually have my solar wire right there. That's the wire with the yellow one coming through there. Crank this up so you can see that there. Where that ran from is through the channel, wire channel in the roof. And so again, depending on your trailer year when it was made, this is a 2019, so a lot of these newer trailers with the roof I was talking about that has just the foam inside, and you can see it here if you've never actually seen it. This is what these roofs are made out of. There's really nothing in there. It's just some foam, and then this is a piece of Luan, and there's a piece of Luan up there, and that's the roof. And then we have our lights, power cables for our lights. And then you can actually see this black cable is my solar cable. Oh, there's a moth out of there. And this is my solar cable, this is SOO. That runs all the way through the roof. And to come back here, I was able to access through the bathroom fan that channel you can get to right there. I mean, it's right there. I just cut a piece out of my fan, drilled a hole in there, put a gland in there, and then ran that cable out, and then hooked some MC4 connectors onto there. And then that's how all my panels get hooked in. Now, we only had 2 panels previously, so just want to give you guys an idea about how to run your cables. Again, it's really going to depend on, the size of trailer you're working with and what year it is and all that, but just wanted to show you that, a lot of these newer trailers, and if anybody has a Coachman Apex Nano Series one, everyone has this line here. Now, I did have to drop the air conditioner. You have to take the cover off and then unscrew the air conditioner a little bit so you can push that wire through, but it's really no problem. We're now gonna pull this wire all the way through because it's coming out of the bathroom vent, and I'll show you that in a minute when we get on the roof. But we're gonna pull it all the way through to here, and about right here is where my TV antenna is, and so I can access that. Here's the coax cable for the TV antenna. So I'll drill a hole in the TV antenna base, put a gland in there to make it waterproof, and then we'll run our cable out that way, and then it will still be running down through here directly hooked up to our solar controller. So again, that's just giving you guys some ideas. You know, some people don't have the bed up front. They might have a bunkhouse up front. They might have a kitchen up front, and they may not have a good area to store the batteries and the charge controller and the inverter and all that stuff, because, you know, technically you want all of that stuff as close as possible to each other. All right, so now let me get up on the roof, show you my original setup that I was just talking about, how I'm going to change it and pull the cables through the other way. So we're at the back of the trailer. This is what I originally had. You can see my wires coming out of there, out of the bathroom vent. This was my original setup from when we first bought the trailer. We put these two panels right here on the very back. We'll have two on this side for our new setup, two over there, one in front of the antenna, one behind it, and then two running along that side. So again, we're gonna have the cable coming right out of the base of that antenna mount, and that should work perfectly because it's a big hollow space in there. We'll be able to drill a hole, put that gland in there, seal it all up so it's waterproof, and then again our run will go right through there, down the front cap, and down into that compartment down there. Okay guys, so we've done a lot of work now, and we got basically the cable pulled through to the location that we wanted it. I didn't think you guys really need to see, you know, the process of pulling cable. Depending on the wire that you use is gonna determine whether or not it's very difficult or very easy for you to pull that cable. I will point out that one of the reasons that I went with this SOO cable was because it is in that chemical UV, you know, outdoor resistant jacket, that black jacket. And I don't have any sitting here right now, but that diameter was the perfect fit for one of those outdoor waterproof glands that I'm mounting in the antenna mount, so that it is actually sealed in there well. Now, if you use just a positive and negative like PV cable or something, they do make a little mount that you can buy where those will go in there separately, and then you mount that somehow to, you know, either your roof or something else. But I just want to point out that's why I use that SOO cable, is because it fit that waterproof mounting piece perfectly. So I have all the cable through. Again, right here is where my antenna is, around right here, that my solar cable is coming out of. And so what I did was the coax cable is right here for the TV, to run over here to the TV thing. I grabbed onto the coax cable and the solar cable, pushed a, you know, fished a piece of hanger through there, and then pulled it all through. So I just wanted to show you guys that that's all, you know, it's all clean. You can't see anything now. Even on the inside of this compartment here, where I used to have, you know, originally I showed you I had the cable hanging down, it's now completely through the wall. It's coming out over here. So let's move the camera up and show you the front. How clean this can look if you're able to access the front of the trailer like this. Again, I'm easily able to do this because I have a fiberglass cap, because the Coachman trailers actually use an aluminum frame throughout the body instead of wood. And because of the way that they do this, it creates sort of like this big pocket that you can get to. And also it's because of this window is here. Now again, if you don't have a window, I'm not sure how easily it is for you to be able to get a wire run through here, because the problem is like in my case, again, because they have an aluminum frame throughout this trailer, down here where my cable runs, so again, it's coming from up there in the ceiling, it's going through that roof compartment down here, around this frame. You can see it sticking out right there in the corner, and then it comes down here, and then at the bottom here is a 2-inch square piece of aluminum that makes up the bottom of the frame. Now again, because if you see that you have some type of access, you have to go even further beyond that to make sure that if you do have some type of frame, that's where the end of the frame is, that you can get through there. Now, if you can't get through there, can you fit a drill down in there to drill a hole? Can you pry, you know, a panel out to try to, you know, push the cable through some 2 panels or something? So again, it's just sort of like going to depend on what your trailer, how it's built and how it's set up. But you can see there's my cable there, comes out, goes over there to the solar charge controller, and then that cable is hooked up to a fuse that then comes to my battery system. So I'll show you guys my batteries. These are 4 6-volt, 4 full river 224 amp hour batteries. So these are AGMs, and we have 2 sets of 6, and then they're hooked together to make a 12-volt system. You guys can hit that subscribe button if you want to see our in-depth video on how to develop a battery system and the parts and pieces to do that, because it's just as in-depth and you know, takes a long time to do, just like a solar panel setup. So if you want to do it right, if you want to make sure you're not overloading your trailer, things like that, then hit that subscribe button and you can check out that video. But that's what my setup looks like. So now I'm going to be able to put everything back together, put that panel back in, put this piece of wood back on here, and we'll be able to get our put the bed back on. See, we got everything out here, we've got our tools everywhere, and so now we can get all of this put back together, and we can head out to the roof to actually talk about the framework that we're going to be making for our solar panels, how we're going to mount them to the roof, and give you guys a really good idea of how that whole thing is going to work. So you can see here, my idea is to have these 2 1-inch square tubes on each side, and I don't know if I'm going to cut them or keep them full length, but just to show you my mock-up, you know, they have these grommets in them, and so I'll just use some machine screws to screw them down there, and then I'll put some VHB tape, you know, like maybe right here in the middle so that it's not flapping around, and then hopefully that will hold the panels really well to the aluminum square tube. And then, like I said, to deal with the sag that you're going to get by having them mounted only on the sides or nothing in the middle, and so I can save some aluminum, I'm going to use a piece of this 3/4 inch square tube, which on the outside diameter is almost the same height, is almost an inch, or is right at just a little over an inch, so that the height matches the square tube. Now if I run a piece of that down the middle, it's keeping almost the whole thing from sagging. Even this distance between the middle PVC piece and the edge, it's keeping it nice and solid with, you know, compared to without it. So that's just with a piece of PVC. And again, that was just, again, my way to be cheap and not have to buy another piece of aluminum. My initial idea was to, because I'm going to have about 13 inches left over from these 96-inch pieces of square tube, was that I could put that in the middle, but it's not providing enough support the full length of the panel, so I don't trust it to actually support the panel properly if we get a big snowfall or something. All right, so let me point out what my fix is. Now, again, I don't want to attach to the roof all of them, like I said at the beginning of the video, because I'm afraid that rubber membrane might get pulled up. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to take these 1-inch square pieces of aluminum, this aluminum tube, and there's actually this strip here that connects the roof to the front fiberglass cap. It already has a bunch of screws in it, and it's covered up with a bunch of die-core. So I'm just going to tap into that, and we're going to basically go right over the same die-core areas that we had before. So what I've done is I've actually put a slight radius at the front of this piece of tube, because this, once I screw it into this this top trim piece here, it's actually about 3/4 of an inch above, or half an inch above the surface of the roof back there. So I have to put a slight bend in it to accommodate that. So now you can sort of see this gap here underneath, and as it goes back, it flattens out and is actually flat with the roof. So I'm gonna glue those parts back there, because at least I'll have these solid points here where they'll be screwed down, and I believe that I can get this waterproofed as best as possible, as opposed to actually taking the aluminum sticks and screwing them into the frame that's right here, the frame rail that's on each side of the trailer. I don't trust that I can actually get this sealed properly to avoid water if I drilled it all the way down. So I'm gonna take this, and again, because we're actually raising these panels now in over an inch right here off the roof, you have all this wind coming up. I don't know how the aerodynamics are going to affect this, if it's going to get under it like crazy or not. But we're going to have 2 panels mounted to these 2 rails here going down, and so there will be an air pocket underneath here. Now I'm hoping the wind will sort of just go underneath or above it, but I don't know that yet. And you definitely don't want to get these just ripped right off the roof when you're going 70 miles an hour down the highway. So again, I'm going to screw these into here, into this trim piece, and then that way I'll have my 2 panels going this way. They'll be nice and secured. We'll put that VHB tape on the underside down there where it's flat against the roof, as well as die core it, and then that way I won't have to put any screws into the roof. Now, that's for these panels going the length of the trailer from front to back. Now when you talk about going side to side, I'm going to have a panel here and a panel there. Remember, the antenna's right here. You have this curve to deal with, this radius to deal with in the roof. And you can see here I was experimenting that you have to figure out or find a way, because unless you have like a pipe roller, you have to figure out some way to put a radius in something that's going to go from side to side. So if you can see this, I already bent this a little bit, but if it was straight, it would just be sticking up like that on each end, because you have a crown in the middle. What we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to cut these other lengths of 1-inch square tube to the distance from that these panels are going to cover, 40 inches right here. So we're going to make a little frame, and then those are going to tie it into this one right here, which I think I'm going to try to do is I could easily make my frame for these panels that are going to go side to side to sort of like attach into the frame like this, and then that way everything will be connected to these points, because then those 2 will be connected down there to this front trim, and it'll be connected like that. So I don't have a welder or anything to do sort of a weld job. If you could, that would be ideal, but I do have some brackets I can just screw into them, some L brackets, and that'll connect them and hopefully keep them nice and secure. So that's going to be my idea for putting these panels down. Again, we're going to screw the panels through the grommets into this 1-inch aluminum square tube, and then attach it to this trim, glue the back ends down, die core the edges like crazy, just like you saw that box I had down there, and that should do pretty well. But that's going to be my fix for avoiding directly attaching to the membrane, because again, like right here, it's got this big ripple and you can actually sort of pull up on it. So I'm kind of worried again that if I raise these 1 inch off the roof, that it's possible the wind will get into there and pull on that membrane glue and separate it. So now I'm going to get to mounting these panels and to this side, and we're going to be working on bending the other side. What I've found is I can use as my spare tire for the trailer, find something else to put the other end in, and use that spare tire to create this little arc right here for my front piece. So I'm going to get to doing that, and hopefully give you guys some good info on how to do it, some good video and tips. All right, so here's the first thing you need to do. Once you get your rails up there, and you should mark out, the distance that they're going to be based on your panel. So mine is about 20 inches. Space them out, and you're going to want to mark exactly where your front is going to sit first. So because you're going to be screwing into this trim, and that's going to go down and actually hit into the frame of the trailer. So mark, your end point, and then mark exactly your middle, because we're going to drill a hole there and then use a screw to go all the way through. So do that on both of them to start, because those are going to mark your points. You got to mark these points here, because then what you have to do is you have to overcome this gap here by putting a slight bend in it. And so what you can do is basically push down on there, find the point where pushing down with very light pressure will make the back end flat all the way to that point. And then you can see here, I marked them right there. You push down, then from that point forward, you really can't bend it more. Otherwise you'll just sort of cup it way too much. So I already set it up on the other side. And then from that point back is where you'll put the VHB tape only, and then we'll also die core all the edges going back on both sides. So that's what you're going to start. And so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these down, since I marked my points on each one, and I got my wheel down there, my spare wheel, and we're going to set it up, and I'm going to show you how you can put a slight bend in this so that when you set it on here, it's setting flush here, and it's setting flush from that point all the way back, because that's going to be our main connection point that we're gluing down. All right, so here's my setup. Now again, I know this looks a little wonky, but this is DIY, and I know that a lot of people don't have a pipe roller at home, and so you need to find some apparatus and setup to put a little kink, a little bend in this square tube. And you want to be easy, because what will happen is a kink if you do it too much. So again, I marked out my spot. It's about like right here is where my bend needs to start. And so I found that the back of the trailer and this spare tire for the trailer are just about the exact same height, so that I can slide this bar under the back of the trailer between the gap of the bumper there, and mark my line up, and then just sort of give it a little bit of bend, a little bit of a, like that. Okay, you just do it a little bit at a time, because you'll feel it go if you go too far. So I've got a slight curve in there, so now I'm going to get up on the roof and see how well that fits. Okay, so we have successfully put a little bend in our square tube, and you can see we've got them laying down, and that mark that we made, you can see now that it's sitting nice and flat. You don't have, one end bowing up like this a little bit, or the back end bowing up. So you can see, let me zoom in. So you can see that, how it's laying all flat. And then again, from this point back, that mark will put VHB tape, and then it'll sit down really nicely. And because of the roof has a little bit of undulation in it, I just guess from the rubber, we're going to put 2 layers of VHB tape on top of each other, and then that'll make up for just like the little waviness that I'm seeing in the roof. There's like little gaps sometimes. And so again, we put a weight on here, and you can see that's nice and flat back there, and basically we're doing that to try and make a really solid connection point, since we're gluing these in, and we have like basically a big fan here, fan blade, that I'm hoping the wind won't catch too bad, but we want to make that long connection point that we're going to VHB tape down and die core the edges down, and then again we're going to be screwed into this trim right here and down into the main frame of the trailer body, and we're going to be good to go. So now we're going to go inside and put these together.